Sorry, I've made a complete and utter mess of that. I've put the wrong stuff on the screen. So what an intro that is. The man that's meant to know everything about everything when it comes to this YouTube channel has made a complete and utter mess of it. But we're live and welcome to the Friday forecast. This weekend is the Merseyside derby, Liverpool v Everton at Anfield this Saturday evening. And I'm delighted to be joined by Chris Brack. Chris, how are you, my man?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I was grand until about 15 seconds ago when I realised I hadn't changed anything from last night's show. So we are just left with, intros from shows that shouldn't be here. But other than that, I'm fine. I'm delighted to be joined by Phil from Across the Park podcast. I've just told Phil before we come on, and I wasn't lying to him. It's one of the podcasts that I've stuck with football related throughout the lockdown. For people that don't know what it is, it's basically 3 Reds, 3 Blues, all mates. They sit around most weeks eating free pizza. Just to let you know, they do promote some caravans, which is amazing. They have gone down the Manscaped route, I know that, and now they're letting you watch football all around the world with a new device. Am I right, Phil?
You're very, very correct, yeah. So you definitely do listen. Then it wasn't just lip service.
Absolutely not. There's specials on their their website from the likes of Michael Ball. There's who else have I listened to?
Jamie Carragher.
There's loads of them. You've racked up quite a few now at this stage, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. And it's a real honour to do it. You know, started it a couple of years ago, and to think that now I'm getting to speak to Jamie Carragher and lots of other legends of the club from yesteryear as well. It's a pure privilege.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've got to do the same over the years here at the LFC Daytrippers, and it is a privilege to talk to them and get to know them a little bit and get some stories out of them that people might not have heard before. But I did tell Phil I'd let him talk about Across the Park later on, but we're doing it now. We might do 20 minutes on it and then head off. But no, lads, listen, seriously, the Merseyside derby, we both go into this. Liverpool have had a good win during the week against Leipzig in the Champions League, 1 foot in the quarterfinals. Everton had 11 games in hand on Liverpool and we're going to overtake them in the league, and then just decided to start losing every game of football they play. But we go into this one, no fans again at Anfield, injuries for both sides, form a bit shaky for both sides, and you know it's a big opportunity for both sides, I think, to put some recent form behind them and try build a bit of momentum. Tonight, though, I want to kind of focus on Liverpool a little bit, because Grizz done a brilliant show last night on Carnage with an Everton fan and Avi, a Liverpool fan, and went through with the teams, what do you think would happen, predictions and stuff like that. We'll do the same, but we're going to just look at the season so far and the good news kind of starting to come out of Liverpool again, which I kind of like. Phil, I'm going to start with you, because the good news today was videos circulating of Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez back in rehabilitation, trying to get back to fitness and training at Kirby and stuff like that, and not training but rehabilitating. How big is it to see those, just for everyone, players, management, fans, to see those two back together, working hard and trying to get back on the pitch?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I don't expect them to play this season, to be honest, Gav. You know, if they did get any minutes, it would be a huge bonus. But just to see them on the pitch, it certainly gave me a lift. I'm sure it'll give the lads at the club a lift and all the fans a lift. And that's what we need right now, as much positivity as we can get. So, you know, and also, like, I saw Klopp make some comments about the club struggling with lockdown in terms of the atmosphere at the training ground. He was saying all the doors are open, it's cold, the camaraderie is not quite the same because you can't have too many people in the same room. And it sounds like it was just getting to them a little bit. So all this type of stuff can only be positive, and the banter comes back with more players, and you know, you can feel that we're getting back to what we are, to what we should be, to what we have been.
And just sticking with you, because we spoke about this throughout the week. You know, Jordan Henderson comes out earlier in the week and says the players take full responsibility for the issues on the pitch and the lack of form and stuff like that. And I've said, look, he's saying that, but Klopp is going to take big responsibility as well. How much do you think that this supposed meeting that he had, not clear the air, but a kind of a sit down where they were all honest with each other and got everything out in the open and kind of came together and decided, right, listen, we're back at it now. All the outside interference or ever stops.
Yeah. Well, we saw the comments come out of the club, didn't we? Salah normally doesn't do things like that. He put a very sort of strong tweet out, didn't he, saying that he won't let this dip in form define the season. Henderson gave a similar rallying cry, And also Klopp as well, come out, didn't he, and strongly denied any rumours that he's having second thoughts about being at the club. And then we backed it up on the pitch, midweek there. And especially Salah, I think, I know he got his goal and all that, which he always does, but he was putting a real shift in both ways. He was protecting Trent more than I see him normally doing. So there was substance behind the rallying cries. And I think that can only come really, from the meeting that they've had. And it does seem as though there's a unity amongst the lads. And it's fantastic to see. It's what we need. It's the only thing that will get us out of the slump that we're in.
Yeah, and Chris, Phil says there, unity, and this is something that's been thrown at this squad a lot over the last 2 or 3 years. They're so close, they're so tight-knit. You see even the videos you see on LFC TV when they're in the canteen and they're having the laugh and they're handing out FIFA cards and they're doing all sorts of stuff. And people just think this is just throwaway stuff, but it's not. You see the closeness of them, and we know all the circumstances around this season, and others will throw it at you that, you're making excuses. We're not. It's fact. What I can tell you about what's happened in Liverpool this season is fact. But Chris, how big is it for this team to? Is it now that they've just come to terms with, look, this is the deck, this is the cards we've been dealt, and we're just going to have to pick a strategy, go with it, and see where we get to?
Yeah, I think they finally had the wake up call that, look, lads, whether you like it or not, you're only fighting for top 4, and we know we need to do it now. I think there's probably still been a bit of a malaise of we're probably not going to retain the title, and then the last couple of results have made that clear. You ain't going to retain the title, and actually now you need to pick yourselves up because we need to get ourselves at least top 4. Which the squad, I think there was a realization to going, yes, we've lost Van Dijk, yes, we've lost Gomez, but the squad you've got is still good enough to be getting top 4, and is probably still should be performing slightly better than it has done. My only concern in this run recently, and it's easier said than done, but Liverpool were always very good at reacting to adversity. So if we went a goal down, or if we got a game to 1-1, if we couldn't win it, we'll make sure we don't lose it. And lately, we've had these 2 games running where we had like mad 10 minutes where you've conceded 3, which is we haven't done that for like 2 or 3 years. Now, I understand it's new centre backs and all, but I do think possibly they've had the bit of clear the air talks of no more now, because we can't afford to do any more of these now. Today, I mean, this weekend's huge. I think you win this weekend, you really are probably feeling a bit more in the groove, because the fixture list looks a bit kinder. I think if we lose this weekend, I do think then you're really looking at an uphill battle.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where it's a crunch part of the season, because we're looking at 15 odd games left, 14 maybe, and you think 14 is loads, but next of all you turn around and if results don't go right, you're going, there's only 10 left, and now we're having to crawl back. We could be 6-8 points out, and you're going, you're not doing that in 10 games. People think you can, but you don't. It's like when you're winning a title. If you're 10 points clear or 8 points clear with 10 to go, people think there's still 10 to go. No, mate, all I have to do is win 6, and you have to win everyone. You know what I mean? So it doesn't work. Dan J said very early on, and it's a very good point. He says Everton took the foot off the gas after they won the league in September. It's understandable, really. Of course, in relation to Everton's form. There was something wrong with it's all going wrong tonight. There was something wrong with the chat. It was in slow mode. The slow mode is being turned off. I'm sorry, and that was probably me setting that up earlier. I'm having a fucking mare here. But listen, we'll get past it. The slow mode is turned off. Comment away. Fill your boots. Good
job. You're the boss, innit?
Yeah, it's a good job I'm in charge and I don't make mistakes. It's so impressive to bring a new guest on and they go, geez, this is some setup, and then this fella does this sort of stuff. But trust me, Phil, it doesn't happen every day. It never happens.
If you hadn't have told me there was some mistakes happening, I'd never have known. So
I know, but you see, but all these fuckers in the chat know everything.
Oh yeah,
they know everything. They comment on everything about me, and like one guy just had a real one guy, Phil, I forgot to tell you, he thought I was blind because I'm looking at you with the camera now. You can see everything. I'm okay. That's good. But I look down here a lot, and people just thought I was staring down all the time because I was blind. So that's how intuitive they are in this chat. They're a brilliant chat, by the way. But I'm only having a laugh. But getting back to it, looking forward to this one. Phil, how big is that win in the week? Because if we get beaten by Leicester, and I thought we were good for 80 minutes. I thought we we just took our mind off it a little bit for me. We were a bit unfortunate with the decision about a free kick and how it goes straight in and stuff like that. And then we get caught by 2 classic Leicester goals, in my opinion, all right? But how big was it during the week? Because if we'd have went there and lost 1-0, or surrendered a 1-0 lead and come back with a 1-1 draw, the pressure would have been absolutely ramped up on us. But it looks like now going into this one, it's a bit on Everton, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it 2 ways, I think. It can be a slight bit of a false economy because Leipzig play sort of it in a very attacking way. They're kind of reckless in the way that they play, and it suits Liverpool down to the ground. Their left back and the right back were turning up in the box and things like that. So they played into our hands. So we can't get carried away with that because I think Everton will sit back. However, like you said, if we did lose, where would the mindset have been coming into the derby? It would have just been, we'd have been in a really dark place. So, from that point of view, I think it was absolutely crucial. But I think we've seen something. I think I've seen a different level of work rate. And Liverpool always work hard, but I've seen them going a little bit further for me. I noticed it. And I think, they were showing to each other that we've got each other's backs here. And it was the right attitude going into the derby. It's what you want to see. It's a shame because when you go into a derby, you want certain players. I always want Milner probably in a derby. I like to see Henderson in the mix in a derby. Players who get it, players who are up for the battle and for the fight. And because we're lacking those players, or certainly in the positions we want them to be in, Fabinho's another one who's like that. We haven't got any of those type of what I would class as derby players. So because we haven't got that, I'm really glad to see that there's kind of a derby mentality about the way we approach the Leipzig game. I don't know if anyone else noticed the same thing.
Do you know what I noticed, Phil? And a kind of a trust in the team. And I've noticed something over the last especially the last 3 or 4 weeks, where Liverpool would win the ball and go on the break. And in previous times, they just go on the break with gay abandon, see what happens, usually score or put a team under massive pressure, set ourselves down and go, listen, we're not letting them out. We're going to win every second ball, and we're just going to crush these teams over a long period of time if needs be. What I've noticed over the last couple of weeks, that when we go on the break, a lot of players seem to be turning back and looking for support, as nearly to say, can we set ourselves now so we don't get caught, and then we'll proceed to attack. Whereas the other night, I thought when we got our chances to go forward and nick a ball and just get it to the front three and go, right, you go and do what you need to do, that seemed to be more evident to me.
It did, but that could be because we just have more space. So when the space is there, you can exploit it quickly. And I think a lot of the hesitation has come from the injuries, to be honest, because how confident are we with the back line? I don't think we're not sitting as far forward as we used to with the back line, and therefore we're not winning the ball as high up the pitch. So, there's a little bit of reservation in, are we safe to go forward? As you said there, but it's kind of understandable.
It is to a point, but I think it is a mindset thing. I genuinely do. I think it's a mindset thing. And I think, people like Chris will come to you, like, I want to start on, because look, Alisson's going to play, despite everyone having a breakdown yesterday because he was given a half an hour off to go and get his lunch. He's okay, he's fine, says Klopp. You're going to have the both fullbacks, which we know about. Centre half is the one where I want to start, Chris. And that trust is going to have to be built there, isn't it? Because Kabak, I thought he was fine against Leicester. He looked maybe a half yard short, but that's understandable, okay? I thought he was much better against Leipzig. I thought Henderson's done quite well as a midfielder at centre back. He gets a little bit thrown at him over Leicester, but I think he's trying to marshal a brand new centre half into a game. Do we trust them two to go into the derby, Chris, or do we say, let's put another centre half in beside Kabak and get Henderson into midfield? A little like Phil says, get him in there and get him more involved. What way do we go with this?
I think you have to trust what you've got. Because I think if he trusted Davis to start, he'd have thrown them both in. I mean, not being funny, Davis, I know he's played at a lower level. He has played centre-back a lot longer. And he's shown no sign of picking him. He clearly doesn't fancy Reece Williams and Phillips. He's had to play them as like last resorts. And so, to me, people won't like it, but it's going to be Henderson and it's going to be Kabak. Look, I think fullback-wise, we look a lot more comfortable because I think Trent is comfortable leaving Kabak one-on-one to go out wide, which he seems to be quite comfortable to do, and Henderson is comfortable doing that on the left, so it does allow the fullbacks to go wide. The only concern you've had with Henderson is once or twice he's been caught with a runner behind him. But like you say, it's not his position. But I do think he organises things a bit more. He does give us the long ball from the back, which, let's face it, we've not had since Van Dijk's been injured. He's not as good as Van Dijk, but it definitely gives you an out ball, which we've not had, which allows us to push forward. So, I mean, I can't see a single change from the Leipzig game. I really can't.
Okay, Stephen Dunn says every time Kabak and Hendo start together, they'll get better and better. Phil, he is a midfielder playing there, and Chris touches on something which is interesting. You know, Trent looks a bit more comfortable to go and do what he's doing with Kabak there. Is that just a case of? Is it a case of he's just more comfortable because he thinks Kabak is brilliant, or is it a case of they've just decided that, listen, we're playing our way and whatever comes, comes?
Yeah, I think it's a bit the latter. Me, I think Klopp's basically said, look, we've brought this centre-back in, so don't worry about that anymore. And you've got to get back to doing what you do well, because Liverpool base everything on the fullbacks. I'll be honest, I'm a fan of Phillips. I like what I've seen of him. I have seen some instances where he's been a bit slow, but there's been plenty. Jamie Carragher and Sami Hyypiä were slow. It doesn't matter that you're slow. It's how you deal with it. And you know the way Reece Williams had a bit of a nightmare game. I haven't really seen that from Phillips. And I know that Calvert-Lewin didn't start against City, but the Blues are saying they think he's in line to play the derby. And 100%.
I think Ancelotti said the same, didn't he? Pretty much.
Yeah. So Phillips in the air, you know, Calvert-Lewin's a threat, isn't he, in the air and stuff? And they're a big team all round, actually, and we're not. So I really, really would not mind if I saw Phillips on the team sheet, but I'm one of the few with that opinion, I think.
I think he's looked all right, Phillips, but I think he looks all right because he's it's like watching a QE2 turn when he turns. I think he is a lot more protected to try and hide. I mean, to be honest, he got turned by Callum Wilson, who's not rapid. You know, and Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are 10 times better movement-wise than Callum Wilson. That's my worry with him. You know, he's a very agricultural defender. You know, if we're playing like when we played West Ham, it suits him because it's just all physical, all that. You know, he'd be, Burnley games are probably suited him better. I just like Calvert-Lewin. I think I do think he'd probably bully Phillips eventually, or just turn him too quickly.
Yeah, I can't see Phillips getting bullied by anyone in the league, to be honest. Bullied like physically, but I can't see him, you know, horses for courses against them tricky Aguero type players. But I don't have Calvert-Lewin down for one of them. Richarlison's another matter, but he'll be on the other side by Kabak, won't he? So, you know, I can make an argument for it. Let's just say that.
Yeah, the argument has been put forward because I've seen it on social media and even in our WhatsApp groups with regards to would you play Phillips and try get Henderson into midfield. Craig Lowe in the chat, he says they got in behind Hendo twice, but I think Hendo and Kabak need to be the pairing. Do you have to look? I get where you're coming from, and Phil, I get where you're coming from with regards to Phillips, because I don't have Calvert-Lewin as a fella that's going to play off your shoulder and run away from you. I do have him as a guy that looks for Everton's right full back, whoever that might be. I don't think Coleman's fit, or Luca Dean to be putting balls in the box, and he's looking to get on the. Look, he spent some time with Duncan Ferguson and Everton, and it's starting to show for me. All right, he's getting less involved outside the box, and he's looking to get the ball wide, and he's looking to get in there and use what is an outstanding spring he has, and he's a really good header of the ball. That's where your worry comes with Calvert-Lewin. Phil, does our approach to this dictate who we pick a centre half? And what I mean by that is, if Liverpool come out and just sit and say, let's see what Everton are about, and kind of get into a tussle with them, you could be concerned and go Phillips. Or do Liverpool come out and just go, we're going high, we're going hard, we're going to just try close you down at every opportunity in your own half and make this a 100-mile-an-hour game? Do you go with Henderson, who can distribute the ball a lot better than Phillips? Could that be a way of thinking when it comes to this game?
I believe so. It's what I would like to see. It's not what I think Klopp is going to do. If you think about what we gain and lose, you know, for the risk reward, if we swap Phillips with Henderson in defence, and compare that to the risk reward with swapping, you know, whoever it's going to be, Jones and Henderson in midfield, I think there's a lot more to be gained and lost in the midfield position than there is in the defensive position, given that Henderson's not a defender. So I'd want to see us go for it. I've been calling for Henderson to be in midfield for a long time, because I'll tell you another thing. Go back to the start of our slump in form, right back to the beginning, and look at every single midfield we've had since. You won't see THIAGO, Wijnaldum and Henderson play in any of them games where we've been beat or drew. That's the midfield I want. I think it'll make all the difference. But people are saying here, sorry, just before I finish, let's build the relationship. I can see people saying between Kabak and Henderson, because they're going to be good together. But for me, Fabinho will be back in a couple of weeks, and he's going to be the centre half anyway. So it's not like you're building a relationship either, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I've said that for the majority of the games that are left in the season, Premier League and Champions League, that you will. I feel you'll end up with Fabinho and Henderson beside Kabak. I think that's going to be you're going with Fabinho. I'm trying. When I look at it, I probably agree. I actually pushed for before Fabinho went out injured against Leicester, I actually pushed for Fabinho to get back into midfield and leave Henderson at centre half, simply to try get Thiago further up the pitch by playing Fabinho in the 6. All right. But I still think, despite Ben Davies or Nat Phillips or Reece Williams, I think when Fabinho comes back, I think it'll be, look, you are there as 4th choice, you're back now and you're in there. Because I want Henderson right side of a tree. I just want him right side of a tree in midfield, and I want to see that. We all want to see Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago in midfield. But moving on to the midfield, Phil really wants to go for it and put Henderson in there. If you put Henderson in, who do you drop out?
Probably Thiago.
Okay.
Ooh, big call.
Yeah.
I think if you're going on form, Jones looked good against City. Jones looked good against Leicester. Jones looked very good against Leipzig. Thiago struggled against Leicester. He was okay against City. He was very good against Leipzig. But maybe on form you go with that. It's going to be quite hustle and bustle, and I sometimes think off the ball that's what caught Thiago out. So if you were going to play Henderson, Jones you could argue has earned his stripes. Put it this way, if you pick Thiago instead of Jones, I'm not going to be up in arms over it. But
the thing is about it, you want to see Thiago given a chance with them midfielders before you judge him. That's the only thing. That's what I'm desperate to see. What's Thiago like alongside Wijnaldum and Henderson? But on form, I don't disagree.
Yeah. I think before the fun we've had this year, I think the plan I read was it was supposed to be Fabinho and Henderson as a 2, and they wanted Thiago to sit in front of them to basically get his passing range and get him further up the pitch. And we've never really been able to do that. We've never really had a combination that allows him to do that. So Christ knows when you'll see that combination. So, that's the other option. Gini and Hendo as a 2 and Thiago sat in front.
The thing is,
on form, it's probably Jones deserves this spot.
Yeah. Thiago has never played that position in his life. He's always been a double 6. He's a deep lying midfielder. He's got all the ability to play up front. Close to. Sorry.
Yeah, I think his first season at Bayern, they did play him there, then they moved him back to the double pivot. He did start at Bayern there because I think it was Pep's first signing. Pep insisted that he had him. I think he did play him as like the most advanced of a 3, and then eventually, as you get older, and they got the likes of Ribery and Robert and everyone like that, they brought him back as a double pivot. But he had Goretzka and people like Kimmich next to him, which helps because they do all your running.
Yeah, but I think there's a bit of a misconception with Liverpool fans where they see him as like they expect him to be Philip Coutinho, and I don't think he's never been that player for me.
No, I think because we haven't got Van Dijk and Gomez was so deep, I think playing him 2 further ahead, it gets him 10 yards close to goal, and I think he can play the Coutinho type pass, which probably the other guys can't at the moment. I think when you have a Gomez and a Van Dijk back, then you probably play him in a midfield 2 with a Henderson or a Fabinho, because then we're 10, 15 yards further ahead. But that's next season before we're going to be looking at that.
I think there's way too much made of him. I think there's way too much made of his form. I think there's way too much made of like all this slowing us down and stuff. Like, it was fucking comical. But I've said this the other night. We haven't. I think have we? I don't know if we've seen. I think the derby might have been Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago. I think. Okay. And after that, you haven't seen it. And like people are saying about playing him higher up the pitch because of. I actually like him a little bit deeper. I think his passing style suits him to be a little bit deeper. Having said that, if in a midfield that you have, say, Fabinho, Thiago, Henderson, there's no problem with switching as a 4-3-3 and getting them further up, or a 4-2-3-1 and leaving them high up or bringing them back. I don't think we have to pigeonhole him into a certain part of the pitch. I think he's brilliant at what he does. Whether that, like, I'll put it to you this way: if you put Thiago in the middle of the pitch, right, and you said we're going to sit you in the middle of the pitch deep you're playing to 6 today, he'll be fine. If you put him as an 8 in a 3, he'd be fine. If you put him forward with 2 men holding behind him, he'd be great. And you see, there was always going to be an appetite to jump on THIAGO if anything went wrong, and he's been a victim of circumstance for me. The people that are missing around him, he's had that injury, he's come back. I know he hasn't been well either. There was rumour around. I'm not too sure whether it was West Ham or Spurs. Yeah, but West Ham and Spurs, I think he was ill, and he still asked to play. You know, so he hasn't had the best of times. But come on, I'm not being funny. If you're going to sit here and tell me you're not too sure about THIAGO, based on what you've seen, without looking at the context of what he's been in, you know, I don't know what to say to you. I really don't. For me, it's all about getting the bodies back, getting the players back, being able to sit here and go, Fabinho, THIAGO, Wijnaldum, Henderson, Jones, you know, Milner, be able to have Keita, whoever it might be, and saying they're all fit, who do we play? That's what you want. At the moment, we're just throwing players in wherever we can to fill gaps, and look, we say it all the time. You know, if you get a strike partnership and they don't get going, you have to give them time to know each other. THIAGO's going in with different fellas in different positions every week. Every single week. How is he meant to get into a rhythm or know how we play or understand? The only ones he's seen to find a bit of understanding is the fullbacks, because he knows they're there all the time. You know, even Mane, Salah, Firmino have been off at times, either collectively or individually. So he's kind of double guessing themselves there. You have to let THIAGO find his way in this side and find his way with the people around and the personnel that are going to be there, because at the moment he's looking left one week and someone is there, and he's looking at the same the next week and someone different is there. So you have to get a rhythm into it and an understanding with each other. So the midfield is interesting, because if Phil looks to go and put Henderson in midfield, right, so Phil, I'll ask you, you're putting Henderson in midfield, who are you dropping?
Probably Curtis Jones, and you know, I have been impressed with his form in the main, to be honest, and it is a bit harsh, but that's sport, isn't it? It's like, that's sport. You go with your best players, and and as I say, you can say on form he deserves it, but we do want to give THIAGO the chance to play with Henderson and Wijnaldum. I think that's an incredible midfield, and what I like about it so much, and this is what Jones can't really offer for me, our midfield is one that's very fluid, a bit like the Dutch way of playing football, because you've seen, I think Wijnaldum's amazing holding on his own. Yeah. He's also seen what he can do for Holland. I think Henderson, remember when Fabinho got injured before Christmas, the season we won the league, and Henderson he was incredible in that number 6, but he's played some of his best football further forward. And obviously we've already talked about THIAGO. So I love that interaction, that anyone can go, anyone can stay. It's so difficult to deal with, and I love the idea and the concept of that. I don't think Jones is quite as fluid as that for me. He's a bit more pigeonholed into what he does. He's not lazy, and he does try to get back and things, but let's have it right. He's an attacking centre mid, isn't he, rather than, you know,
he is an attacking centre mid, but I think he's one that's learning the way we play, and I think he's adjusting the game as accordingly. Because I remember watching Curtis Jones when he was in the underage sides, and he was a 10. He was a 10 that looked to find pockets of space, glide by people, set up or score goals. That's exactly what he done. He was a level above the people he was playing. He was brilliant. And when he originally comes into Liverpool in the pre-seasons, I'm looking going, this is a guy that wants to run at people, find pockets, beat people. And it wasn't Klopp's way. Klopp wanted you to get space and use the ball, you know, to your overlapping fullbacks and stuff like that. And it took Curtis Jones time. But I think he's grown massively into this side. I think he's very good at protecting the ball. You must be watching Wijnaldum a lot, but he's really good at protecting the ball. I think he's really good at getting out of tight situations, and he has got that little bit of bite about him. He has that little bit of aggression about him. But if you're going in seniority in the side, that midfield 3 probably is the one that will be picked, presuming Henderson doesn't stay at centre half. It's interesting. I'm dying to see this team tomorrow now, and then I'll know. I'll message Phil and go, oh, you got it right. Let's see. But do we look at Everton's midfield, Chris? Do we try pick something that outdoes them? Because it could be a game that's won in midfield, because Everton have been decent at the back. Godfrey's been a really good signing for them. But in midfield, the Corey will play. There's talk that Alan is back. Will James Rodriguez play in there? Who are they going to go with in there? And does it affect what we do at centre half and in turn central midfield?
I think he'll probably play Alan and Decore. I mean, Decore's been arguably probably one of the most underrated signings, because he's what they've needed for years. A proper box-to-box, mobile midfielder. He just gives them energy. He's a really good player, good defensively. Attacking-wise, he really helps them out. So, I like Decore. I'm surprised he stayed at Watford as long as he did, and no one tried to pinch him sooner. I think Alan was back. He was on the bench against City, which says to me they were rested and ready for the derby. This is the sort of game that they want him in for. He wasn't great, I don't think, in the Goodison derby. I think we got around him a little bit, but there is a way of playing around him. But he's a clever player on the ball, and he loves to tackle. The option then is the other one, which is the options they've got is Sigurdsson, who Everton fans seem to not hate at the moment. I don't know how long that'll last because most of the time I speak to hate him. So, that can last long. Tom Davis, not convinced by. He's doing well, but I've never been convinced. I think they'll probably go, if he's fit, with Gomez, who's a bit more of a ball player, which is probably what they want. It gives them a nice mix then of physicality, mobility, and a ball player. So that's probably the midfield three, if they're all fit, that they'd probably go with.
Phil, what are the Blues saying on across the park? What way do you think this midfield's going to go? Because do they go like James Rodriguez is there as well? Do you play him wide? What way are they looking?
Well, I put it to them on Monday night's episode, and I believe James Rodriguez should be at the attacking pinnacle of their midfield because they've got the players to play in the attacking wide positions. I think he's a little bit wasted out there. Millsy on the podcast, he absolutely cannot stand Sigurdsson. He doesn't ever want to see him in a shirt, Everton shirt. And then Judgy on the podcast, the other Blue, he can't bear Tom Davis. So they can't agree on what they want to see or what they're going to see, to be honest. Tom Davis gives energy. That's what he gives to the team. He's got good leg. He's got a good engine on him. Sigurdsson, Ancelotti seems to like a lot. I expect him to play just because Ancelotti likes him. No. Well, yeah, he seems a bit lazy, doesn't he? But I think it could be instruction that.
I just think Gomez gives them more than what Sigurdsson does. He doesn't have the attacking brigade, but I think he gives them a clever through ball.
Do you need that though when you've got Decore and Allen?
I think you need a clever through ball.
Yeah.
If you were talking about quite an inexperienced Liverpool back two of Henderson and Kabak, a clever through ball down the side of Henderson to Richarlison's run on, that's gonna give Henderson nightmares to me, rather than a guy who wants to try and pop it from 30, 40 yards over time.
Well, the only thing is, I agree. The biggest thing I'm looking for, if I was an Everton fan, in this midfield is who can be part of the most organised setup. And what I mean by that is, Decore will do a job. He'll walk. He'll get his foot in. He'll try close passing lanes. He'll try move with the ball when he gets it. Alan is very cute, although he's not as good as people think. He's a 20-yard footballer. He passes the ball 20 yards, usually side to side. But he does it very well. And people think when I say that I'm having a go at him, I'm not, because Everton have missed a player like that for so long. They've missed a Decore for so long that can carry a ball, move with some sort of purpose through midfield. So I think they both will play. I think if you're going to go with Sigurdsson or Davis, I understand Phil saying he's a good engine in him and stuff, but Davis seems to be a bit haphazard at times. Like, you look at him and go, he's miles away from the rest of his midfielders out of possession. He seems to be chasing and stuff like that. I think you might go with Sigurdsson, the bit more experience. He's not going to run all over the pitch, but he'll sit in a position for you, and he's a bit more quality on the ball. That leaves James Rodriguez and Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. But I agree with you, Phil. If they wanted to go for it, putting Decore and Alan in there and sticking James Rodriguez in front of them and playing your two wide men off Calvert-Lewin, I think is a really good tactic to go with. But we'll have to wait and see. But I'd be confident Liverpool going into a midfield, whether it's Jones, Wijnaldum, Thiago, or Henderson, Wijnaldum, Thiago. I think there's enough in there to win the battle in there. And if they do, they get at this Everton side. The front three is going to be the front three. We know all about that. But Phil, where do you think we can get at this Everton side? Because, Yerry Mina is out. I don't know if Coleman fit. Every time I think of Seamus Coleman, I think he's a doubt. I don't know what
he came on against City when Mina went off.
Okay, so I thought his middle name was Doubtful, but it's always seems to be that. But he comes on, so
Nabi in it.
Oh, don't go there. But you're looking at. Are we looking at Keane Holgate centre back, Coleman right back, and Luca Dean left back? Phil, would you go with that as a back four?
I can't.
Who's the new sort of young lads they keep going on about? I think
Godfrey.
Yes.
I can't see him dropping him. He's been brilliant.
He won't drop. Yeah, but I actually think this whole Everton's midfield is really good. It's a little bit of they're good individuals, but I think if you watch them play, the midfield is played through a lot. I think it's hard to explain why it happens. I don't watch them as closely as I watch Liverpool, but when I do put it on, I just think they look like they're getting played through too easily. It doesn't make sense when you think Decore and Allen, and they're quite disciplined and good footballers. But when I watch it, I see that it happens. And so I think if we win this midfield battle and we can get the ball early to, Mane and Salah, then we'll break them down and we'll create chances. The thing is, though, are they just going to sit in? Because they kind of did against City, and we've been struggling against that, haven't we?
We have been, but what I would say is that if we go with those, even if we go Henderson as centre back, right, you're going to have a player that can pass the ball out from centre half position, which allows you to push those. Wijnaldum can sit, but if you're playing Jones and Thiago, if they are sitting back, you have got Jones for me, who's a player that'll skip by somebody, open space, and even just to give it to Mane in a much easier position to have a go at their fullback, or Salah, or get it into Firmino. And in Thiago, you have someone that if you give him time to get his head up, the Mane and Salah, for me in particular, will just be like lunatics trying to hit those, trying to run diagonally from outside in towards the penalty spot and looking to get those balls. A little bit like Fabinho used to. Remember, he used to just clip those diagonals all the time, and we used to get in on them. I think the midfield setup there might help us with regards to everything sitting in. Like for me, if it's Holgate or Godfrey playing at right back tomorrow, you get Mane on it as much as you can. Because they're centre halves. Both of them are centre halves. Now Godfrey's done really well as a left back, I think, while Luca Digne was out. But I think you have to get him at whoever's playing at right back. And Firmino needs to. For me, Firmino, I'd nearly tell him to stop dropping off, go and play up against those centre halves. It keeps them penned back, and it gives that midfield a little bit of room. It doesn't bring him into midfield and look to congest stuff. So it's going to be very interesting, I think. Phil, are we all expecting Everton to come and sit though? 2 banks of 4-4-5-1.
Yeah, especially given that it's Anfield. I think they treated the City game as a little bit of dress rehearsal. I think they saw that as a bit of a shot to nothing against City. But let's get our system right for the derby. That's how I kind of viewed it. And the Blues agreed with me that that's kind of what they would do. So I think we've seen in that game what we're going to see at Anfield. And yeah, I think it's going to be a tough long goal game, because see, the thing is, Klopp talked about this. When teams sit back, and in seasons gone by and when we won the league and stuff, it happened to us then, and we'd get a lot of late 1-0 wins and that. And Klopp said that doesn't come through like creativeness. It comes through an accumulation of pressure, attack, and eventually they break. And I just don't think, because of the COVID situation and the injury situation and the minutes that everyone's playing, that we've quite got the energy to sustain that mounted pressure. And that's the worry. That's the worry going into it with regards to breaking them down, in my opinion. Okay,
Chris, do you expect Everton to go with their 4 defenders and literally 4-5-1? I think if you look at it as the game is being played, do you expect them to do that, or do you expect them to go the way other teams haven't? And I'm talking Manchester United and Spurs when they've come to Anfield, and just have a go and say, you know what, they have still got, because Liverpool are still vulnerable, like, make no bones about it. They've beaten Leipzig, but they're still vulnerable. It's a chance Everton can come out and go, let's get balls up to Calvert-Lewin, let's get Richarlison involved, let's get James on the ball and see what happens. Let's get Alan just getting into tackles with Decore and Digne on the ball. Is there a chance of that happening, or do you think Ancelotti's just going, no, I've watched them against Brighton and I've watched them against Burnley, and if we sit back, they'll give us chances anyway?
Yeah, I think he's just going to try and Napoli it. I think he's going to sit deep, play for set pieces, and if anything, if he wants to go for it, I think he want to turn it to a 20-minute game. If he's going to go for it, now, right near the end, he'll go, let's get to 0-0, 20 to go, and then we'll make it a mad game, and we'll fancy our chances on the break, because they have got goal scorers. Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin have got goals now, and Rodriguez has got quality in him. So there is definitely, I think that'll be the game plan personally. If they get an early goal through a set piece, great, they'll be made up with it. But I think their plan is sit deep and try and make it a mad 20-minute game. The only niggle I've got in the back of my head about Liverpool, and I keep thinking it, is Everton at home is no when Klopp throws in an absolute wild team. Now, hopefully, because of the form we're in, he doesn't do that. But would it surprise you if he just goes, "Fuck it, I'm going to throw Davis in, I'm going to throw Chamberlain, I'm going to throw Shaqiri in, I'm going to go fucking mad team."
Yeah,
because I would probably say the last 3 or 4 home derbies, he's put in some mental scenes. Well, let's face it, most of us in the fan base have had a bit of a breakdown. Go, what's he picked here?
Yeah, the one where we beat them 5-2.
I've got the 5-2. You looked at the team,
5-2, and I went, "Oh, hold on, he's clearly taken some subscription drugs or something, prescription drugs, because what is going on here?" And we were absolutely brilliant. We just conceded 2 goals, but just bashed them off the pitch. It was brilliant. But you're right, he does throw a few mad ones in. The only thing I would say is that I think he wants to build a bit of momentum. You know, at the time when you look at the teams he's picked against Everton, and some mad ones, even at Goodison, you know, we are going for a European Cup final, and we are comfortable in where we were. You know, last season we were flying in the league, and he was able to put out that side because Everton were very, very poor. But this one, I think he needs to build on midweek. He absolutely needs to build on, and not only build on it in a results term, but build on it in the fact that these players get another game together and get another goal. You know what I mean? But
can I ask you a question, Gav?
Yeah, I've seen a comment here.
Are you wearing silk pajamas?
No, I'm wearing a new golf top because I'm missing golf so much. I just keep putting my golf jumpers on every day. And if the courses don't open soon, I am going to go insane. I'm being honest. But for me, it's one where I think I think it's a massive thing for momentum. I really, really do. We've another week off after this one, which gives you a chance to get players back or closer to back, and I think it's big. I think it really is. Phil, we've gone through centre backs, we've gone through midfields, we've agreed on forwards, but give us your 11 for tomorrow.
Okay, this is not what I think Klopp will do. By the way, this is what I want to see.
Okay.
So I want obviously Alisson in goal. Trent picks himself. I'm going Kabak and Phillips, but I expect it to be Kabak and Henderson. Robertson left back. Then I would like to see Wijnaldum, Thiago and Henderson, but I think it'll be Wijnaldum, Thiago and Jones. And then obviously the front three is the front three. One worry I have got, a big worry, is that if we do go for it and Trent is pushing up, that switch ball that James can play to Richarlison in behind Trent and get Richarlison isolated, we've got to be very, very fast at closing him down before he can play that pass. And that's why I need to see a midfield who are capable of doing that. Okay.
It's an interesting one, but I think if we're going to go for these, you're going to end up with Trent playing on the edge of their box and taking our absolute chances with Kabak and Phillips or Henderson. Chris, pick me your 11.
Same as Leipzig.
Same as Leipzig. No messing about.
Messing about. I did have a feeling that he might have thrown catering after having a week's training, but that kind of got kiboshed after I heard the press conference.
Yeah.
The only man I know. Was it 2 full days of training? He was sick for 2 days.
Yeah, he's amazing, isn't he? It's
just
amazing.
Oh God, you couldn't write it, could you? You couldn't write it.
You could have a go, but I don't think I don't know how far you get. Right, lads, predictions, and you know how it works. You give predictions, but you give scorers as well. We don't let you away easy. Phil, score prediction and Liverpool scorers.
I'm going to say 1-0, and I'm going to say Sadio Mane. I think Mane's on fire, to be honest. I know I'm not on the goal scoring terms, but he looks very confident on the ball to me at the moment, and fancy him to get in behind. And I'll say 1-0. I don't think it'll be easy.
Okay. Just on Mane, I think he showed a marked improvement away at Leicester because he started running at people with the ball and committing them, and I think he was really good as well at Leipzig. Yep. And looking at that forward line against Leipzig, they all looked hungry, they all looked ready. There was one touch stuff going on that was a bit laboured going back the last couple of weeks, but Mane is a good show. Chris, score prediction and Liverpool scorers, please.
I think it'll be 2-1, Salah, Mane, and I think Calvert-Lewin will score for them. What I would like to see is a Liverpool win, and the winner comes off Divock Origi's arse from Pickford clearing it. That's what I'd like to see. But I don't think. Well, you know, must be due enough one of them soon.
Just quickly, do you think Pickford starts?
Yeah, because do you know what? I never thought I'd say this. That Olsen's absolutely crap. He makes Pickford look good. I watched him. It was the Newcastle game and the Fulham game. Sorry, one of the goals he lets in. It went through his hands. It was horrendous. I mean, look, I don't think Pickford's much better. I think Pickford is probably better than Olsen, though.
Phil, do you think there's a chance Pickford doesn't start?
I think there's a chance. I mean, how many times are you going to say the next one is his last one? You know, I feel like we've been saying that for months, for maybe years. And he keeps making them mistakes, doesn't he? So one day he's going to come out. So maybe.
Okay. I think he does start. I think he will start him. I think if he turned around and dropped Pickford for this game, that's the end of Pickford at Everton for me, because it's the game. It's the game that he would expect to play. It's the game that you definitely put your number one goalkeeper in, and he can rotate them against Newcastle or Fulham. But if you rotate against Liverpool, away at Anfield in particular, when both are fit, it's the nail in Pickford's Everton career for me.
I'll be honest.
But I think his Everton career is over in the summer anyway. I think if Ancelotti is going to do anything with this side and look to build it and stay there for a couple of years to build, I think goalkeeper should be literally, when the final whistle goes at the end of the season, he should be all over goalkeepers, no matter where he has to go and get them. Sorry, Chris.
I was amazed, and I was saying it last summer. He said, "What do you think Everton will do?" And I thought his first signing would be like when Pep went to City. Pep went to City, took one look at Joe Hart, went, "Not having him. I'll get somebody else in." I know Bravo didn't work out, and then he got Ederson. I thought as soon as Ancelotti came, I thought he's going to get a goalkeeper in that he wants, and Pickford will be on loan by the end of the summer. I'm amazed he actually got another season. I think he creates nervousness for that defense, because actually I think the defenders, they've got good defenders, and defensively they probably should do better than what they are doing, because I actually think, I think Keane's actually massively improved. I think Holgate's a talent. Godfrey, brilliant signing. And Digne's a very, very good left back. So they've got a good back four there. But I just think he ensues panic, to be honest, like Mignolet did for us, and Karius in the past. They just create panic when you don't need it.
Yeah,
so
it'd be interesting to see what sort of goalkeeper he go for, because we know, like, Pep goes and gets Ederson, right, because he's good with his feet and he's good distribution. Alisson's the same. I don't know much Ancelotti looks to distribution in his goalkeepers. Pickford's this fella that when he kicks the ball, he does this mad thing. Watch him. He does this mad thing with his foot when he kicks. He nearly hops in the air and lands after he kicks the ball long and stuff. Watch it. It's mad. It's a bit like Mikel Arteta constantly looking around him for imaginary friends and stuff like that. It's mad. But I don't know how much he relies on or looks to that part of a goalkeeper's game. For me, watching Everton, I'd bring in a goalkeeper who could just put his hands in front of stuff, because if you do that, they're probably up about 6-8 points this season. But we'll have to wait and see.
I'd bring in Nick Pope. How's that? Break the bank, put in Nick Pope. He'll be brilliant for them with that back four, which still can play deep, and he's not horrendous with the ball at his feet. He's tired enough, but he's an excellent goalkeeper. He'd be brilliant for Everton. If we were playing Everton tomorrow and they had Nick Pope in goal, you would be worried. Then you'd be like, "Oh fuck me, he's going to be it." Because everyone does. Everyone sees Nick Pope and fuck me, he's a nightmare to get.
Every time he plays us, fucking time he plays us, he's unbelievable.
I've got a question for both of you lads.
Yeah.
Would you rather Liverpool show Everton the levels and blow them away 5-0, or would you prefer 1 minute to go, Salah dives, or get a dodgy VAR decision, we get a pen, and stick it to them that funny last minute type of way?
Yeah, go first.
My view, I have the opposite views of Man United and everything. Man United, I want us to batter them because we just don't like each other. I actually quite like the scrawpy 1-0 because it gives them hope, and I quite like killing the hope. I had loads of it in the 90s of them doing it to us, so I quite actually like killing the hope. I'm sure this will get clipped up later if it goes wrong, but
Well, Master Disaster says 5-0. Paul 94 says 5-0. Kevin Ball wants a last minute winner. Craig Lowe wants a 5-0. I'm going 5-0 as well. The more goals you can score against anybody is better. We've had the Divock Origi thing. We've had the Sadio Mane thing. We've had the Virgil van Dijk thing late on in the game. So I think in this game, for the context of it, I want to go out and just mop these aside, just literally swat them and say, listen, don't be annoying us, go away. We've literally taken 6 weeks off and this is what we can do to you. So 5-0, it would definitely be mine. Kevin says 5-0 would hurt, but the 1-0 would have them hurt even more. But what I would say to you is, when we score that one for Origi, which is amazing, right? It gave Everton the way out. It was like, oh, they were lucky at the end. They were lucky at the end, you know. And that, of course, was the game, weren't they? When they threw the flare on the pitch, the blue flare came on the pitch just as Trent hit the ball or towards the box. So
Yeah.
I think I go with a 5-0. I think the more goals, the better.
I must admit, I was at the 4-0 when Origi got hurt by Funes Mori, and a few of my in-laws are in Everton fans, and they said that one hurt more than most, because what they said hurt them was at 4-0. He said it was almost like your pats on the head said, "It's all right, we won't do any more now," and you just kept the arm's length. And they said that was more horrible. Said, "We'd rather you pummeled us."
Yeah.
They said, "At least then you just go, well, you know, we got battered. It's one of those days." The fact that you were just holding us off quite comfortably said it really hurt, and that's when we had the likes of Mamadou Sakho playing for us, and I think Torre was still playing. You know, that sort of stuff. A few of my Blues, they still say that's the one that hurts because of the manner.
Yeah. I think the Origi ones and all that, they're better when you're in the ground than they are.
Yeah.
You want to be there for them.
Yeah, and because it absolutely goes off a last minute winner against Everton, especially when the ball's going out for a goal kick and the keeper decides to keep it in. It's unbelievable. But I think Pickford starts, in fairness. Liverpool wise, I think it is. I think it's going to be Henderson and Kabak at the back. I think he'll keep Jones, Wijnaldum and Thiago. I think he will go the same team as Leipzig and give them another chance. But if you have I don't know if Keita will get on the bench, and Keita gets ridiculed, you know, but I want him back on the bench. I don't care how ridiculed he gets. I want him back on the bench. I want Jota back. I want them all back. You know, like it really really brought up my spirits today when I seen Van Dijk and Gomez, and you know when you kind of look at it and go, they'll be back, and this is going to be brilliant when they're back. Because not only because we get those players back, but everybody that's hammered us this season and called us bad champions, and the squad's finished, and we're this, that, and the other. When we line up in July with our squad, not one of them people will be. They won't be able to be found. They'll be gone into hiding because they won't be telling you Liverpool are finished anymore. Before we go, Phil, across the park, talk to me and talk to the people watching. What's it all about?
Yeah, so as you mentioned before, we're six mates, and we've been mates since we were like in our early teens, really. So the chemistry between us is very natural. Nothing's forced. 3 of them support Everton. 3 of us support Liverpool. And I'll be honest, it's not all about having murder every week and trying to get one over. Of course, that's natural, and it's plenty there. But if you go back to the 80s, 70s, 60s. The relationship between the fans was very special. The chemistry between the fans was known around the world for being, you know, the friendly derby and humor. The banter and the ribbon of each other. It was always tinged with humor, but never hate, or never spite. And we've discussed many times about, you know, how did that start and where did it come in somehow in the 90s, and we're trying to take it back to what it was. So. We have loads of banter, we tease each other, we skit each other, but we do it from a place of humour, and there's no hate between us. And if we can sort of have any impact on sort of changing the mindset of the fans and getting it back to that, it's something to be really proud of as a city. So that's the goal. But yeah, every week we discuss the games that have been played, the games that are coming up, any topics, and along the way we have loads of amazing interviews with top guests, as you mentioned a few of them before. On the Liverpool side, there's been Gary Gillespie, Jamie Carragher, Ricky Lambert, Jay Spearin. There's loads, I can't even remember, there's loads. And the same on the Blue side. And what I will say is, listening to the Blue ones are almost, you know, not as good as the Liverpool ones, but you can still listen to it and appreciate them, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. Tony Kelly says Liverpool and Everton have one of the most passionate fans. I wouldn't say Liverpool is better or Everton. Our City is great. And yeah, you're bang on. And like Phil says there, you know, like we can all have a laugh and a joke and needle each other and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's a game of football. It's meant, and I keep saying this, it's meant to be a laugh. Football is meant to be a laugh. You know, do you ever go out and play a game of football with your mates and go out going, I'm just going to get really upset when we play this game of heads and volleys? You're not really, are you? You're going to go out and have a laugh, and if a fella falls over, you're going to laugh at him and you know, and hits it into the back garden, someone's back garden, and he has to go and get the ball. It's a laugh, and that's what it's about. But I have to say, across the park is, and I don't know whether I said it on this show before we got going, it's one of those that has I've continued to listen throughout the lockdown. It's very hard. It was very hard through lockdown to put out content, and you know, and listen to it, because you don't feel as involved. You know, people aren't going to work, and that commute is massive for people that create these podcasts, because a lot of people listen on the way to work or on the way home. But Across the Park is one that I constantly listen to. And you're right, the specials that you've done. I'm always interested in the Liverpool ones because you learn something new, but I'm always intrigued by the Everton ones. You know, when you're talking to ex-players or Everton, when they were going through bad times, how did they get out of it? How did it come about? You know, what players were like? You know, Gascoigne's being mentioned when he was there. He was a nut job. You know, there's been so many players mentioned and managers and stuff like that. And you get to see how another club worked or works at good and bad times. So Across the Park, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, am I right?
Yeah,
but there's one of them that's Across the Park, and then two of them are Across the Park PC, am I right?
Yeah, so Across the Park's Facebook, and then Across the Park PC is Twitter and Instagram. And we've got a website, www.acrossthepodcast.co.uk.
Yeah, good stuff.
Seriously,
go and watch them, or go and listen to them, and you, as I said, you'll find them at all those places. Yeah, go ahead, Phil. You've one more thing to go.
YouTube is coming.
Yes.
We've got a collaboration with Liverpool Live radio station, which is the only truly Scouse radio station in the city. They've got a podcast recording studio with a green screen and all that. So we're about to go onto YouTube. We've just got to learn some of the editing software and different software that we need and stuff, but it's coming. It's not far away at all.
I was going to say I'd help you out with that, but you've seen the shambles of what happened here tonight at the very start. So you can block my number by all means. But no, if you need any help at all, you give me a shout. But look, it's been a great show. I've really enjoyed Phil coming on. We will try get more the lads from Across the Park on more, and we'll try get some of the Blues on. And listen, it doesn't have to be just around the Merseyside derby. You know, we do shows where we talk about Premier League, and if one of the Blues wants to come out from Across the Park, they're more than welcome. You know, I have to say, those lads, when we asked them out of the blue to help us with a charity thing we done a couple of weeks ago, they had no problem sharing and retweeting stuff like that. So, and as I said, this whole podcast and YouTube thing it isn't a competition. We're all here to just do our best, have a good time, and see where it takes us. Phil, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we will most definitely have you on again.
Thank you very much. It was an honour to be on.
Good stuff. Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, mate. Just one thing, because you won't take credit for anything.
Oh, no, don't do this.
No, you need credit for the key and strong stuff, mate. It's quality what you've done. And it's not just you, I know, but you've done a lot to drive this. So I think you need to give yourself a little bit of a pat on the back there, because I think you've done really, really well with that.
I would settle for 9 holes of golf off the back of it. I really would. But no, look, the Keen Strong team was brilliant. The prizes were brilliant. The draw is coming up. We're just working with Football Prizes to organise a live draw on our channel. And as I said, them prizes will be drawn and they will be sent out to the winners and stuff like that. In fairness, we sold 499 tickets at $4.95 each, and that converted when it got to dollars to $3,400, and it was sent to Keen the other day. We got a lovely video message from them, which we have put on our Twitter, from the family, and the cost of medication in America is scandalous, and this is a 1-year-old child recovering from brain cancer, so every single penny counts. The link is in the description if you want to donate. The family did tell us that money we gave them will go towards medication, and I don't know how much medication, because as I said, it costs a hell of a lot of money to recover from brain cancer at 1 year old, and you know it's just scandalous money in America. So thanks to everyone that bought tickets, that donated stuff, and when we'll do this draw hopefully in the next 7 to 10 days, and we get those prizes out to you. That's it. Chris has done that to me, so I'm going to do this to him. He will be here next week hosting the Friday Forecast, and will be from now on. Chris is your new host of the Friday Forecast. So any complaints, send them to him. Any complaints about the start of this show, I'm willing to take them. But that will be my last act on this show before Chris takes over. I want to make sure that you are all here next Friday supporting him and supporting the people that he's going to have on. He might change the structure of the show a little bit, but go with it, because it's Friday night. It's good. We're in lockdown. What else are you going to be doing? Come and watch us, and then go off and watch Across the Park while they mess around with a green screen. Lads, that is most definitely it. That has been the Friday Forecast. That has been the Merseyside Derby build-up. Thanks to Chris. Thanks to Phil. Go up to Across the Park podcast and make sure you follow them across all social media. Over and out.